I'm Sir Flowbojan Thunderhammer.
And I'm Teflon Frosthammer.
And I'm Cabbage Tidehammer.
And this
is
WAK.
If Amtgard knighthood means anything, you can't knife a motherfucker and keep it.
And the thing that people need to understand essentially about arts and sciences events is that your scores don't matter.
Do you want a black phoenix or a white phoenix?
Jeez, language, man. We're on a
nice.
freaking podcast, for fuck's sake.
Mind-blowing experience, right?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to WAK, where we discuss topics important to the Amtgard community at large and talk with interesting people from around the foam fighting world. I did not see the intro, so I hope that's it.
Close enough.
I have the Trello card pulled up here, and then I just lost it. I turned around, looked at my computer, and it was gone.
It's better than I ever do.
Fuck it, it's fine. So today we're continuing our What the Hell Even Is Amtgard series. I think I quoted it as 8 parts last time, so this makes part 3. We're going to be talking about the when and where of Amtgard. So that's when does it happen, where can you find it, and that's online and everything else. At the top of this episode, we are going to go through some audience corrections. This one isn't so much a correction as a clarification. So somebody reached out to me after the last episode, didn't quite understand the belt system and how those things kind of link together. And I don't think we really addressed it. So I wrote this up. I sent it to the person, but I also told them I would put it at the top of this episode. So there's different folks within Amtgard who can take on some amount of belted family. I'll explain what the titles are and then give you an idea of what those belts can do. So anybody with a title of nobility, Lord, Baron, Duke, whatever the other ones are, they can take a page, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's dependent upon Kaporas and stuff, too.
Yeah, per Winter's Edge Kapora, I know you can. Per Neverwinter, you can. And it seems like a few others. I did a quick look around, and you could. But yeah, I can't speak for all of them. Mm-hmm. We really need to have...
Unified Kapora?
Yeah, we need to have a unified Kapora. That would be fantastic. But generally speaking, and you'll want to check your own Kapora, if you have a title of nobility, you can probably take a page. Now, what is a page? Page is like an assistant?
Well, it kind of depends on each belted family, too. The roles of, yeah, that looks really good.
Got that in 4K.
All right.
I can't drink water.
But yeah, so it kind of depends on the belted family as well, because there's a kind of a misconception to some degree that a page is like a servant in a way, and that's not exactly how it is. Whereas some people may have that kind of relationship to some degree,
right?
But it's not the goal of it, if that makes sense. It's usually a quote unquote lower level. In the belt family, but still someone who's the higher either belt or lord or nobility title is working with to further their goals.
Yeah, that's so kind of like an assistant, but not quite. You're usually learning from the person you are paged to in some degree. They're teaching you something or they're helping you with something, but ideally you have some common goal or something. That you both share, that you're sort of working towards in some cases. Sometimes it can just be like, hey, we're buds.
Yeah, it can be that too, absolutely.
And a lot of times it's both. I know with Flow, it's both.
Yeah.
So it ranges. There's a spectrum for what a belt given to you and what accepting a belt can mean. Obviously talk with that person before accepting it. But usually it implies a working relationship of some kind. A page is technically the lowest form of belt that can be given, I think.
Well, I think technically in the rule book that Man-at-Arms and Page are on the same level.
Yeah, I was going to get to Man-at-Arms because Man-at-Arms and Page are technically the same thing. It's just a semantic distinction, it seems like.
Well, I think in yesteryear, Pages were the lowest and then Man-at-Arms came above it. Or at least that was how it was viewed culturally. Yeah. And I think that's fallen a little bit by the wayside, but not by a whole lot because there's still enough old codgers in the game that they hold the same look at it.
Old codgers.
You like
that's
that?
You.
That's me.
That's you. That's me. Uh-huh. Oh, God. Oh, no. Okay. A page belt is typically yellow. Knights can also award belts. And this is where you'll hear the phrase belted family.
Well, it's not really an award so much as I don't know what the better word is, but
I
award
treated
is not
my
great.
belt like an award. I was really excited for it.
Some people do look at it that way in some ways, but that's not exactly, I guess, the way, because it's not like an award to the ladders or something like that. So
Knights
I don't
can
want to
also
confuse that.
give belts. Let's say that. Knights can also give belts. Any knight, regardless of their order, it does not matter if they're sword, flame, crown, serpent, can award belts. They can give squires belts. They can give man-at-arms belts, or woman-at-arms belts, or person-at-arms belts, and page belts. We've already discussed page belts. Man-at-arms belts are typically black with a silver stripe. I think we covered this on the last episode. It is an old tradition in the South for them to be green sometimes, so you may see a green belt, and that's what that means. Man-at-arms, pages, if you look at the rules of play, it says they're the same thing.
Yeah.
So one is not higher than the other, although some people will view a man-at-arms higher for whatever reason. Squires belts are... I guess the highest belt. I mean, they're not really...
Highest as far as being given.
Yeah. A squire's belt is red. Some kingdoms have rules about how many squires or men-at-arms or pages any particular rank can take. I looked. Most do not. I think Northreach is one of the ones that does have rules on this.
Interesting.
Northreach people, correct me if I'm wrong. So you'll see some belt lines where they have like 50 pages and 20 squires and whatever else, and that can be fairly common. Knights usually, and this is just a what's the phrase? What am I looking for here? This is just based on my own personal observation. Knights typically don't give out a ton of belts because the implication is that if I give you a belt, I am associated with you, and if you do something dumb, it falls back on me. And I don't want to give 25 people belts who I don't know.
Well, it's also how much time I hate to use the word master, but the upper ranking person, has to spend with their beltlings, right? So
I feel like I can teach you more, therefore you are a squire.
Right. Well, not even just teach you more, but like just the number of, like, some people are really good at organizing and managing time and things like that, so they're able to hold more beltlings under them than someone like Flo who has ADD, so he only has 2 because we're a problem.
Oh, did you see the message the other day? He sent us so I did a thing.
Oh, yeah.
The most ominous message our knight can send us is, so guys, I did a thing. And we're like, oh, God. Oh,
what is it this time?
What did you sell? What vital piece of equipment did you get rid of that we need to do this show? Yeah, in this case, he bought a camera. So hopefully soon. Oh, and he bought a light, I think. Yeah,
I think so.
I think it's just the one, but it's really nice. So once we get back in the main studio, you'll be seeing hopefully better video quality.
Maybe I won't look like a raccoon.
Or your head won't blind everything. Yeah. Who knows? It is a pretty nice camera. Flo, unfortunately, can't be with us today. He had a really rough day at work the other day, so we are sort of filling in the blanks. He will be back on the next episode, I assume.
I think it should be.
I'm going to throw him under that bus. He'll be back for the next episode.
Yeah, excellent.
Won't you, Flo? I know where you live. So knights typically will take fewer people. They can take as many as they want. There's no hard and fast rule.
Unless your Kapora says so.
Yeah, and always consult your Kapora. You're going to hear us say that a lot, but it really does matter. Belts typically go in a particular order, so that is page and man-at-arms, or page, man-at-arms, and then squire, and then knight, all the way up at the top. The belts can take belts beneath them. Squires can take men-at-arms and pages. Men-at-arms can take pages. Pages, you get nothing, I'm sorry.
See, this is why I think in some ways that people view man-at-arms as a quote-unquote higher rank.
Yeah, they get a perk. It is a singular perk. Squires don't really get... I guess we can wear daggers.
Yeah, I think it's a cultural thing. I don't remember if it's actually in the rulebook or not. But one of the cultural things is no one else can take lifesteal to like feasts or court or things like that. But knights may have their swords. And squires may have a dagger in some places, but again, this is going to be a little bit dependent on area and things like that.
Have I shown you my dagger?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a pretty cool one.
I need to put some WD-40 on it.
Ooh, yeah, it looks a little rough on this side.
Yeah, it's okay. I'll clean it up.
Kellyan's made a bunch of daggers for the Knights of Winter's Edge
they
at
were,
one point.
Railroad spikes, weren't they?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
This was actually a gift while I was Monarch from Samix. So Samix,
oh, yeah.
Thank you so much.
That's really awesome.
So yeah, squires can carry daggers. Everything else cannot. You can take the belts beneath you. Is that it? I think.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the weird thing, right? Like, all of these ranks and belts and stuff like that may mean something totally different to the belted family.
Yeah.
And so, you know, if there's someone you're like, oh, hey, this knight's really cool, they're at my park or man-at-arms squire, whatever it is, and I don't really understand what a belt means, then it's kind of a friendship and teaching opportunity that the other person is taking credit for. That sounds bad.
Yeah, it's not taking credit, but I get what you're getting at.
Yeah, taking responsibility for, maybe?
Yeah.
That's better.
Yeah. Also, if you would like a page belt and know how to edit video, holler at me. I'm drowning. Okay, no, I'm joking.
Only a little.
No, it's fine. It's not. I can throw this together in like an hour. It's just an hour where I'm not playing the new Pokemon Snap. And
Or TFT?
The new Pokemon Snap. That's all I've played lately.
Yeah.
I have logged like 40 hours on that game.
I don't know. My brother challenged me to a chess match, and I beat him like 4 moves. And then, like, I was like, I'm really bad at chess. Like, I'm really bad at it, so maybe I should learn a little bit. So it's been my stint.
Yeah, I was going to say you were doing that on the way to the event.
Yeah.
Other question that I had, if I accept a belt or if I give a belt, does that person have to take on my Amtgard name? That comes
that's a really
specifically,
interesting thing.
from us having the hammer thing.
Right.
No?
It depends. Again, with the belted family, I believe.
Right.
So, Flo is Sir Flobogen Thunderhammer, and I was his first squire, and I don't really like the direct name thing.
Yeah.
I always liked the idea of having a little bit of it as a tradition, but making something your own. So I chose Frosthammer, and Flo's like, no, I think this is a cool idea. And Cabbage went with Tidehammer, and that's why we're all something hammers, basically. But there are others who, like Gillen, took
Abuhugad,
from Goldwyn. So I don't know if Gunn did, though. I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I think he did.
He did, okay. And so some lines are the same surnames.
Surnames?
Yeah.
Okay.
All the way through. So it just really depends. And if that's really important to you, just talk to your potential belted family or whatever. To me, it wasn't really a big deal.
No, it's so a lot of times people use it to track kind of a lineage, like a patent of nobility.
That's kind of the really cool thing about it, right?
Yeah, so like, oh, you're an Abuhugad, so you know Golwyn, like, yeah, he was my knight, you know, or you're a whatever hammer, Flo. So it is not required, and anything past this point is going to become a tradition that a particular belt line has.
Yeah.
So no, it is not mandatory. If you want to belt somebody and you have the ability to do that, they do not have to take your name. You can make up whatever wacky traditions within your own belt line. Just be prepared to explain them if people ask.
Right.
But beyond that, no, you don't have to take a name. And I think that's all the audience questions or audience corrections that we got. So if we want, we can move on into the what we did. We need the when and the where, right? So let's start with when. Amtgard, there is no hard and fast when this is going to happen. If you have a local park near you, and we'll talk about that in the next little bit, if you have a local park near you, they're going to meet semi-frequently. There's no ruling saying you have to meet weekly or bi-weekly. There's nothing that says you have to meet on a weekend or on a weekday. Most parks will meet on the weekend.
Yep.
Again, not a guarantee. Most parks, though, just because it's when people are free, will meet during a weekend at some point.
Yeah, usually Saturday or Sunday, just for clarification. Some people include Friday, so...
I would like to.
Yeah, right?
Give me that 4-day work week. Oh, my God.
Hey, man, 410s works great.
410s I would love. I did 118 yesterday. I didn't have anything to do, and I just kept working until 4 in the morning. Whatever. So... you'll have to look, and we'll provide some resources that we will also talk about on where to find your local parks and how to find when they're meeting. But typically aim for a weekend. We're trying to make the game as accessible to everyone. Beyond that, kingdoms typically have events that will happen at specific intervals. You will have a coronation, a mid-reign, and then
quals for some kingdoms now.
Yes,
because Winter's Edge kicked that out. So no
Proud
more
of you
quals
guys.
for us. Yeah, but I think the majority of other kingdoms still maintain a quals, which is
why?
Yeah,
Why? Why do you do
agree.
that? Other kingdoms? You can kill it. We did. You can do it too. I believe in you. Okay. Sorry, I was so passionate about killing quals.
I know,
I'm still
great.
happy about it. Yeah, so those are the 3 big events that your kingdom will have. Am I missing anything?
I think not.
Okay.
I think other things would be like static events, something like keep or something like that, but I don't think that's necessary at the moment.
Yeah, so we will. So let's address these things first. What are they? Coronation, exactly what it sounds like. I could pull up the dictionary definition, but basically that's when you put the crown on the king. It is an elected position, so at some point before coronation, you will have quals. What quals is going to do, if your kingdom still has it, is it is going to decide the applicable candidates. There will be some requirement that you craft something usually, some requirement that you maybe provide a written plan. This will vary depending on your corpora.
Pass a Reeves test and corpora test.
Right. You'll have to pass some kind of test that says, hey, this person knows what they're doing. They are suitable to be elected to office. And that's what quals is. Quals will fall usually a month to 2 months before coronation, but it can go all the way up to 2 weeks. I checked every corpora I could get a hold of, and 2 weeks is that final deadline.
Gotcha.
So quals, voting, coronation. Coronation is where you put the crown on the new king. You will have 2 coronations within a year. Well, actually,
Some of them are only 1 and some of them are 2. It depends on corporas.
Yeah.
Because a monarch stint is either 6 months or a year, and that is very dependent upon which kingdom you are in.
yeah. So depending on how long your monarchs and your elected officials reign, you may have 2 coronations a year. You may just have the 1.
And if you're a freehold, you're probably bound to 6 months, if
Yeah.
I had to guess. I haven't looked at the freehold corpora in a long time, but that would be my initial gut reaction.
Ruben, I know you're listening. If you could put in the comments exactly how long freeholds can hold the position, just let us know. Thanks, buddy. So you will either have 1 or 2 coronations a year, depending. That means you'll either have 1 or 2 quals a year,
Yep.
depending.
What is... never mind. You already decided.
Yeah, quals is
went
where we
over that.
qualify who can be in office.
Never mind.
Qualify, quals.
Yep.
Mid-reign. So actually, let's talk about coronation for just a moment.
Sure.
So coronation, we put the hat on the new guy, the newest sucker.
Yep.
Whoever that happens to be. The other positions come in as well. So depending on your corpora.
Most of them, it's going to be monarch, regent, champion.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
and then
that's it.
GMR and PM are elected separately. So there's some
During
overlap.
mid-reign, usually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or, well, transfer of power during mid-reign.
Right. So what will happen during coronation? You'll find the new sucker. You'll put the hat on him. You get all of his friends and put hats on them too. And that's your new kingdom level leadership. If they are being reelected, nothing really changes. It is just another event. You may have some wacky tradition in your kingdom. I don't think we really do.
Not really. Just a changing of the hats, and usually that's a literal hat.
Yeah, there's a circlet or a crown of some kind that gets transitioned to the new person to represent their new power. So during that time, it is an Amtgard event. Usually, although COVID has put a weird spin on things, usually those events are bigger events. Those are multi-day events. At least here in the South, I know they are.
Yeah.
May vary, but that's how I understand them usually to be. So you will go to this. You'll spend a weekend. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You get out. And there's usually quests and events and all kinds of crazy things planned during a coronation. The same is true for mid-reign. Now, Teflon, you mentioned mid-reign is where you elect in the other 2 positions, which is the Prime Minister and the...
GMR. So, Guildmaster of Reeves.
Yeah, okay. So there's some reason for why those overlap, usually so that, when the next monarch comes in, there's somebody who at least served half of the term with them to sort of
Well, it's
give
kind of a
information.
checks and balances, too.
Yeah.
Because of one of the powers in the of 3 of the positions is to decide what a ban is.
Right.
And that's the KPM, the GMR, and the Monarch.
Yeah.
Other corps may have a extra layer to this, but that is, I think, the rule book. I think that was me. I don't know what happened
was me.
there. Oh, was it
That
you?
was me, yeah. I can't drink water today. I don't know what's happening.
But there may be extra layers to that, but that's the general idea of who can terminate memberships.
Yeah. So mid-reign is exactly what it implies. It is midway through the reign.
Yep.
The reign is decided by the monarch, so it's halfway through their term. Whether that's a year, so whether that's 6 months in or whether that's 3 months in, depends on your Kapora. I need to put that on a button so I don't have to keep saying it.
I know, right?
And
I hate going back to it because this is in some ways for new people, and the Kapora is kind of a daunting thing for a lot of new people.
it's a lot.
Yeah. It's a daunting thing for veteran people too.
I mean, hopefully by listening to this, you can at least say, okay, that's something I need to know in the Kapora. I will go look it up instead of just getting handed a Kapora and saying, here's everything you need to know.
Yeah, maybe.
You know, like, hey, now I know what's in the Kapora. Now I know what I'm looking for, right? Mm-hmm. That's the hope. And that's the best we can give you, unfortunately, until we get that unified Kapora.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, so the mid-reign is midway through the reign. It is another multi-day event usually. So the mid-reign will have tournaments. It will have...
Or at least for us it is. I actually haven't really looked into that now that I thought about it.
I feel like it is. I feel like we've gone to other kingdoms mid-reigns and it's been...
Well, Neverwinter does, and we do. But I don't remember going to, like, say, a Rising Winds mid-reign or something
Wasn't
like
Great
that.
Eastern a mid-reign?
I don't remember.
Because that would have been a pretty big event, at least at the time that we went.
I don't think I've actually been to GE. No, I don't think I have.
Oh, well, that would have been... It was me, Tie-Dye, Chachi... There was somebody else. I feel like maybe it was you or I guess Lexi. Maybe.
Lexi went to one of them, but I think it was before you guys went.
Okay. Well, there were other people. I swear I think that was a mid-reign. Super cool event. So, yeah, the mid-reign is another big event. There will be quests. There will be fun. There will be feasts. There will be speeches. There will be awards. At any big event, you're going to have those things. Quals is a different matter entirely.
Yeah.
Some kingdoms can make quals a bigger thing. Usually it is a day event. Run at some central location because you have to show up and show your worth. You have to bring your crafted items and have them judged.
Compete in a tournament, maybe.
Yeah, compete in a tournament. So quals is a different thing. It is usually much more fast-paced. There are not enormous quests because there are a lot of people doing a lot of things very quickly.
Many times, or at least for us, many times it's the tournament for fighting, the tournament effectively for
the Dragon Master.
Yeah, the Dragon. Well, it's not the Dragon Master necessarily. It's just it's quals, which is run very similar to a Dragon Master in some way. At least for us, it's just another ANS tournament.
Yep.
And then sometimes there's usually like a singular battle game that everybody kind of competes in.
Yeah.
But it's not really the focus. The focus is typically the two tournaments.
Yeah. I would say that quals is, and one of the reasons that we are so happy about killing it, besides the fact that you have to do kind of stupid things to prove you're worthy of office, like to be monarch, I had to prove that I could make ramen. I don't know why.
Typically what it is each kingdom, well, the kingdoms that still have quals, have a certain amount of items that you have to qual and score a 3 on. A 3 would mean average, and what is average between kingdom to kingdom is probably different too, but that's a whole nother tangent.
A certain number of items in a certain number of categories, you know, and you can...
scoring at least. I think it's pretty standard to be a 3.
Yeah, or a 50%, a passing mark,
right,
by the lowest margin.
And usually tied to that is also the Kapora test and rulebook test.
Now, those things I can get behind. I can get behind a rulebook test.
We still have those.
Yes.
Our qualifying things is the rulebook test, the Kapora test, and then a what is it called?
Like a plan of action
or something. Yeah.
But my ability to make pants does not tell you how good of a monarch I'm going to be.
Yeah.
They were great pants, by the way, and I was an okay monarch. So what are you going to do?
You're selling yourself short, man.
The pants or the monarch thing? Don't tell me now. No. So quals, though, what I'm getting at here is quals has almost a similar staff requirement to a full event.
Yeah.
But it's condensed down into a day. And most kingdoms, again, I checked, most kingdoms do this as a local park thing. They will pick a local park to have the event at and have everybody come to that park to kind of boost numbers. Oh, yeah, I shut the door so the cat's just...
He's just hanging out.
When will my husband return from war? So you have to have enough judges to, judge all of these ANS pieces that are coming in. You have to have people to proctor the rules and Kapora and Reeves tests and whatever else. You have to have enough people to reeve the tournament. And you have to have enough people to run a battle game. So you're doing a lot in a day. Quals are typically, I wouldn't say, if you were a new player, I would not say avoid quals.
No, I think it is actually a really good thing to go to.
Yes.
You get to see more things than you would usually see at an event.
It's the hyperbolic time chamber for Amtgard events.
Yeah.
So if you want to see a very condensed idea of all the stuff that can happen at an Amtgard event, go to a Qualls.
It's cheaper.
Yeah,
honestly.
It's usually. Does it cost anything?
No, ours Qualls didn't cost anything. However, I can't speak to others. I've never been to another Qualls.
That would be wild.
Yeah, well, you already paid for Qualls because you're having to make all those things.
Well, yeah, you're just putting another paywall.
Of course, the average person doesn't have to, but
Our political opinions about Qualls aside, Qualls is free in most cases. Qualls is very condensed. Qualls will let you see a lot, and if you've made something or if you want to see what other people are making, Qualls is great for that.
we've actually had small fees for Qualls because of like hamburgers, hot dogs, or something like that.
Yeah,
before.
food's provided or something like that. Usually there's not a guaranteed feast at Qualls.
No, there's not usually.
We have done a thing where it's like, hey, the Chinese restaurant says they've got room for 50.
Yeah.
Meet us down there, but that's it. Mm-hmm. So food is not included. If it's a short day trip for you, go for it. Now, I do have here other events, and these are
these would be ones. The inner kingdom events, or sometimes a kingdom will have a static event by itself too. Things like Keep on the Borderlands, Gathering of the Crowns. There's far more, and I just can't think of them, to be honest. Rakkus, I believe, is technically one.
Yeah, Keep on the Borderlands, Rakkus, Gathering of the Crowns. I feel like there's another one.
Great Eastern, I think, is one also. Yeah. I feel like there's Feast of Fools or something along those lines. That's probably another static
the one
event.
That happens in Texas. That's Crowns. That's in El Paso, yeah? Or no, New Mexico?
No, I think that's New Mexico. I can never remember.
So to kind of give you an idea of what these events are, Inner Kingdom events are exactly what they sound like. Multiple kingdoms come together to make these happen. Keep, I think, is probably the most ubiquitous.
That's the largest right now.
Yeah, that's the one everybody comes together for. That happens up in the Midwest near Chicago. Oh, it's in Illinois, right?
They changed venues this year, and I don't remember where it moved to.
I don't know anything.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's up in the Midwest. It's a really cool event. It is the biggest, I guess we'd call it our premier Amtgard event.
Mm-hmm. I would definitely say so. I haven't been, but I would still say so.
Yeah. There are all kinds of people who put together, here's what you should bring to Keep. Here is what you should prepare for at Keep. I know a lot of the craziest Amtgard stories come from there. Big nightings happen there. Mm-hmm. Lots of surprise stuff happens at Keep. The next one would be Gathering of the Crowns, but this isn't necessarily an Amtgard event that everyone should go to, I think.
I don't know. I think outside of the Circle of Monarchs meeting, I think there's still plenty of things that are normal Amtgard stuff to go on, but I don't know for sure. Again, these are things I've not gone to.
Yeah. Gathering of the Crowns is, I hate saying this, but it's exactly what it sounds like. All of the appointed monarchs of Amtgard come together once a year at the Gathering of the Crowns, and they decide on the direction of our game. That can be a lot of things. When I was monarch, we voted on moving in new rules and rules corrections. We voted on whether or not to make paladin and anti-paladin available to everybody. Sorry. We vote on, pretty much anything that matters to our game, or we create committees to go find more data and figure these things out. There's often non-disclosure discussions that happen as well. Mm-hmm. If you are a monarch, it's a bigger deal. It is otherwise an Amtgard event, similar to, I would say, Keep, or maybe a bigger kingdom level event.
Yeah.
Most of these events will have some kind of page on Facebook. I know Keep on the Borderlands has its own page.
Yep.
The Circle of Monarchs, post stuff about the Gathering of the Crowns. I'll post links to these in the description so you can check them out. And we've kind of skirted around it a bit, but where do these things happen?
That's a...
Teflon, tell us where all the Amtgard parks meet. Go ahead, I'll wait.
Yep. I feel like the Animaniac song needs to happen now. Also, it's another good job with drinking water, this one.
Fuck you. I'm hanging in there. So, yeah, where can you find Amtgard? There's a resource called the Amtgard Atlas. Mm-hmm.
I couldn't remember if that's still the name was the problem.
Yeah, so the Amtgard Atlas is now built into the orc. We'll talk about that in a moment. I will link to the Amtgard Atlas below because it's kind of hard to find if you don't know where to find it.
Right.
We could do better about that, but hopefully this helps. The Amtgard Atlas will tell you, it's a Google map. It's got all these pins in it. You find where you live, and then you find the closest pin. You click on it. It'll tell you where the park is. It'll also link to that group's Facebook page if they have one. It'll give you phone number, address. all the contact info you can hope to find.
Mm-hmm.
So if your park is in the ORC and its data is not up to date, fix it, because that helps grow your park.
Yep.
And there are
especially
a few,
with Come Try LARP and Buccaneers Respite on TikTok. That's where they're putting people in touch with people. And I know that Come Try LARP's done a lot. The Buccaneers Respite TikTok has done at least 4 or 5 people given outside of that area.
Yeah, their comments like, "Oh, there's a group near you and wherever. Here, let me send you. Check your DMs. I sent you something." So no joke, the Amtgard Atlas does help to grow our game. Put a link in the comments so you can look at it and find your closest park. What do you do if... one last thing. The Amtgard Atlas will also tell you when your park meets. So make sure that data is up to date. What do you do if there's not a park near you?
Cry. No, I'm kidding.
Cry or drive, right?
Yeah, it's pretty much that. You can try to start one yourself. There are resources online to help out. The Amtgard's main website, which I don't remember, is it amtgardinc.com?
Amtgard.com or amtgard.org now.
Something like that.
Hold on, I can tell you.
Yeah.
Amtgard.com.
Okay. Should have a kind of rundown on what you need to do.
Oh, hey, they've updated the website. Good job, Pyle.
And that's kind of, it's not really a complicated process, but it's a longer process than it needs to be in some ways. But
there's some paperwork you have to fill out. Yeah.
It's all volunteer work, so I don't hold anyone any problem to that, so I don't.
Yeah. You should.
Oh.
My God. You should listen to, I'm Freddie Mercury now. You should listen to the episode we did with Ruben, where he talks about being a freehold and getting that set up and dealing with the volunteers and everything else. It's a really cool episode. It does go into the downsides and the trials and tribulations
It
of that.
definitely gets into the weeds, basically.
But if you want to know more about making a freehold and you want to know what that can look like, that's a good episode to look at. I can link to it also.
Yeah, that would be good, I think.
Buy me time so I can fix this.
Yeah, okay. So, I lost track of where we are on our outline over here. So, where is it? Where's your closest park?
Yeah, what do you do if you don't have a close local chapter?
Where do you find similar other games? So I don't have the exact answer to that, but other games happen, and sometimes they are in your area and more active. There are places where Dagger here or Belgarth or Darkon or some other game like that is just a bigger game, and we're... people just genuinely want to kind of condense things, and it's not necessarily bad. It's just what people do, especially in the nerd culture kind of thing, with LARPs in general.
So Come Try LARP is actually a great resource for finding...
True, because he's hitting... Hogman is hitting at least Belgarth and Dagger here and Amtgard with it, if not Darkon as well. I don't know how many other games that he's kind of really moving around.
So there are even... yes, Darkon is there. Every game that is willing to sign up with Come Try LARP is there. There are even like lightsaber academies that are there. So there's a lot of, if you're looking for things, if you want to try this and there's not an Amtgard park near you, start one, grow our game. That would be super cool, but that's a lot of work. Play another game. I'll link to Come Try LARP as well. Because he's doing all of the, basically like he's doing the thing where if you're a LARP game at all, hit us up. We'll put you in the database.
Right.
So it's a pretty cool setup that he's got there. There are also a couple of places where Amtgard stuff happens in particular. Your local kingdom's Facebook page is a great one.
Yep.
There are other not directly affiliated with Amtgard pages. I guess it is now the unofficial... What is
Amtgard
it? The unofficial
forum or something
the
like that?
unofficial Amtgard forum on Facebook. Again, I'll link to it. Let me make a note for myself here.
These are kind of places you can ask questions in general, as well as if you can't figure out how to work the Atlas, or there's not a park near you listed in Atlas, it's useful to check on these forums as well, because sometimes the parks are either just new and they may have a representative from their park on that forum, or someone knows that the park exists, but they're just now starting. Much like, what is it, Wolf's Run, I believe, or something like that. That's in Smyrna. Here, they're not officially an Amtgard park yet, but they are still looking to get people out there.
Yeah.
I know that, for example, this is actually a pretty good one. There used to be a Dagger Here Park in the very same park, I believe, that they're meeting at.
I mean, hell, there's an SCA group that meets at our park.
Right, yeah. And so that area is kind of lacking direct foam combat LARP things, so they kind of filled in the space, and hopefully they will grow as well. So that gives, again, and to the point of like what's there is usually the thing that you will find more of. So trying to start a park with another LARP nearby can be really good. There's a lot of cross gaming and stuff like that now, but sometimes it just doesn't take because people are just going to go to the bigger park, which has its pros and cons.
Yeah. And ultimately, too, people will gravitate to the park that's offering the stuff that they want.
Yep.
So this happened, we've talked about it before, this happened in Knoxville where there was Radiant Valley and Mystic Glade. Mystic Glade basically never did class games. It was all ditches. And Radiant Valley did the other stuff that uses all the parts of the rulebook that we weren't using at Mystic Glade. Yep. So Radiant Valley is now what exists. So just be mindful of that. If you see another park that is not offering something, you may try to just improve that park. That's probably the easier and maybe better thing to do. But if they won't work with you, or if you can't get it to happen, you can make your own.
Yep.
And it's workable. It's happened before. You can also, so there is a Amtgard subreddit that is not as active as I would like it to be.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
Yeah. It's it gets like a couple of posts a day, and I think that's cool. I've actually seen us mentioned in
that was really cool.
Yeah, I was like, oh, wow, we're famous. But there is an Amtgard subreddit, and it's a really cool community. And also, subreddits are great for growing communities. I've moderated several subreddits in my time on Reddit. I looked the other day, and it said 12 years. Yeah, that doesn't feel great. I don't want to see how old my Facebook account is, but...
Oh, God.
Yeah, that would make me sad. But there is a Reddit page, and you should go there and make it more active. Post the stuff you're working on. Post the stuff that you have questions about. There are, because the thing here is that the data gets scattered.
Yeah.
People go, where do I look for this? Oh, well, that was on ESAM, or that was on Reddit, or that was on this Facebook page, or that was on the other Amtgard Facebook page. So just put it all somewhere. Right? I will link to the Amtgard Reddit in the comments. And last but not least, I mentioned this. You'll hear it mentioned a lot. ESAM, or the Electric Samurai. Nothing gets posted there anymore.
Right. It is kind of a thing of yesteryear.
Yeah, but it is a repository of like Amtgard ephemera from long ago. And, if somebody references something and says, oh, yeah, there's a post on ESAM about that. I'll post that up so you know where to find it. So that's where you can find Amtgard online, and where you can find LARP online as well. A lot of people are putting together really cool resources for that. If you find someone who does LARP and you're interested in kind of what it is they do, I promise you, they want you in their game.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You mentioned Ruben's group, Buccaneers Respite. They have a TikTok.
Yep.
And I see so many LARP TikToks now.
Yeah. And personal pages saying, hey, I'm getting to go back to park and stuff like that. That's really kind of cool.
Yeah. So there's and just go comment on those. I know Ruben has personally helped several people find our game just from his TikTok and just from his comments.
Yeah. And again, Come Try LARP has done just the same.
Yep. Come Try LARP. You'll see his stuff on TikTok as well. So if you see it and you want to know where it's at, ask. We'll post some resources that are hopefully helpful. And beyond that, you're really going to need to check your group's corpora, your kingdom's corpora, and figure out when these specific events happen. That's sort of the meat and potatoes of the when and where. Have I missed anything?
No, this one's kind of hard to approach in some ways because everything is so different. There's also fighter practices that happen.
Oh, we didn't talk about fighter practices.
On a local level, typically, a fighter practice would be... A lot of times, I've seen it being like Wednesdays, which is like midweek, right? And it is just purely the melee practice. Now, that doesn't have to be the thing. I'm sure there's some out there that do maybe some sort of class battle game or class practice with the fighter practice as well.
Yeah.
It's not unheard of. It's just not as common.
Yeah. We actually did a fighter practice this past, was it Tuesday?
Yeah.
Tuesday, yeah. That's when I had to help Flomo while I drive. You lucked out.
Yeah, I was sleepy.
Yeah. So first off, find a park near you. If you already have one, job done. Great work. Next off, get to know their rules, their Kapora, everything else. Learn when the things happen. And then third step, I guess it's optional, but take it to heart. Help other people find it too.
Yeah.
I don't have
anything with the Kapora, realistically, you can just ask around.
Yeah.
You'll get the problem of like someone didn't read it all the way through or something like that. But honestly,
I don't know what that's like.
Yeah, right. Asking the people at the park what things fall under what is going to be an easier thing than trying to get to these Kaporas and read through them, because that is not a feat that I would ever put on a newbie.
Yeah, it's a lot to take on. But don't be afraid to ask those questions. We're happy to help.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we are all interested in growing our game to some degree. I don't have much else to add beyond that.
I can't think of anything for these two topics. I think everything else will run into other ones.
Yeah, I kind of want to jump in because we're running kind of short. I think we're at like 40 minutes.
What's our next one? I'm sure we can actually...
It's big!
Oh, is it a big one?
It's the who is it, and that's the various leadership positions, what you can do to help, and everything else. We could jump ahead to why Amtgard, or we could cut this and make it a short episode.
I think we cut it because I think getting Flo's stories and why Amtgard would also be good. So maybe we just cut it here.
Yeah, I think that's fine. So we will see you next week. Next week will be a bit of a meatier episode. All three of us should be here, and we'll be able to get into the leadership positions that make up Amtgard, how you can help, and then why you might play Amtgard. If you're listening to this, I hope it's obvious, but we'll get into it anyway. So thanks, everybody. Hey, everyone. Thanks for listening. If you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on YouTube or Spotify to get notified about new episodes. And make sure to follow us on Facebook for announcements and more.